Park Ji-woo's small transport ship raced through space toward Earth. She had been flying for 18 hours without stopping. The ship's engines were getting hot, but she couldn't slow down. Behind her, somewhere in the darkness, alien ships might be following. She thought about Captain Lee Tae-ho and Kim Dong-soo. Were they still alive? Had the captain made it to New Seoul Colony? She hoped so, but there was no way to know. Her communication system could only send messages short distances, and she was still too far from Earth to call for help. The data drive containing the alien meeting recording sat in her pocket. Every few minutes she touched it to make sure it was still there. This small device contained information that could save humanity or doom it forever. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Choi Sang-min sat in his office at Human Defense Force headquarters. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. For 30 years, he had protected human colonies from space pirates and hostile aliens. But today, something unusual was happening. His assistant, intelligence analyst Yoon Hae-rin, knocked on his door. She was 35 years old and very good at understanding alien communications. She held a tablet computer in her hands and looked worried. "Admiral, we're receiving some strange emergency signals," she said. "They're coming from the direction of Deep Space Station Omega-7. Admiral Choi looked up from his paperwork. "What kind of signals?" "Broken messages. Most of them are too damaged to understand, but we can make out a few words. Someone is trying to warn us about something called alien conspiracy and attack Earth." The Admiral frowned. Could it be a false alarm? Maybe pirates trying to scare us? Yoon Hae-rin shook her head. "The signal codes match Station Omega-7's emergency system, but the station isn't responding to our calls." Admiral Choi stood up. Something was wrong. Station Omega-7 was always reliable. "Send a patrol ship to check on the station, and keep trying to understand those emergency signals." While Yoon Hae-rin worked on the broken messages, other events were happening across human space. On the colony world of New Seoul, engineers were discovering something strange about their equipment. Nam Ki-ho was the chief engineer at New Seoul Colony's main power plant. He was 40 years old and had been working with alien technology for 15 years. Recently, he had noticed that many of the ship parts and machines they bought from alien traders were breaking down too quickly. "This is the third power converter this month," he told his assistant, looking at a burned-out piece of alien technology. "These parts are supposed to last for years." But when Nam Ki-ho took the broken parts apart, he found something interesting. The alien components weren't just broken, they had been deliberately made weak. Someone had designed them to fail. "Why would the aliens sell us bad parts?" his assistant asked. Nam Ki-ho didn't know, but he decided to try fixing the parts himself. Using human engineering knowledge, he rebuilt the alien components to make them stronger. To his surprise, the modified parts worked better than the originals. On another colony world, Dr. Seo Min-ah was studying a strange disease that had appeared in several human settlements. She was a biologist who specialized in alien viruses and bacteria. The disease wasn't deadly, but it made people sick for several weeks. What bothered Dr. Seo Min-ah was that the disease seemed designed specifically to affect humans. It didn't hurt any of the alien species living nearby. After weeks of study, she made a disturbing discovery. "This isn't a natural disease," she told her research team. "Someone created it in a laboratory. Someone who knows a lot about human biology." But there was something else strange about the disease. The humans who recovered from it seemed to have stronger immune systems than before. It was as if the disease had been trying to weaken humans, but had accidentally made them stronger instead. Back on Earth, Yoon Hae-rin was finally making progress with the emergency signals. Using the Defense Force's most powerful computers, she had managed to piece together parts of the broken messages. "Admiral," she called to Admiral Choi, "I've got something." Admiral Choi hurried to her workstation. On her screen were fragments of translated text. 12 alien species, secret meeting, conspiracy against humans, planning attack, stealing our technology, must warn Earth immediately. "Where are these messages coming from?" Admiral Choi asked. "Two different sources. Yoon Hai-rin replied. One signal is very weak and fading. It might be from the station itself. The other is stronger and getting closer. It looks like a small transport ship heading straight for Earth. Admiral Choi made a decision. Send our fastest interceptor ships to meet that transport and double our space patrols around Earth. If someone is trying to warn us about an attack, we need to take it seriously. 3 hours later, Park Ji-woo's transport ship was finally close enough to Earth to send clear messages. Her voice came through the communication system, tired but urgent. This is Park Ji-woo from Deep Space Station Omega-7. I have critical information about a threat to all human colonies. Request immediate meeting with Defense Force Command. Admiral Choi spoke to her directly. This is Admiral Choi Sang-min. We've been receiving your emergency signals. What's your status? Sir, Station Omega-7 has been destroyed. Captain Lee Tae-ho and Engineer Kim Dong-soo gave their lives to get this information to you. I have recordings of a secret alien meeting where 12 species are planning to attack all human settlements. Even through the radio, Admiral Choi could hear the exhaustion and fear in her voice. Transport Ji-woo, you are cleared for emergency landing at Defense Force headquarters. Medical and security teams are standing by. When Park Ji-woo's ship landed, she was escorted immediately to Admiral Choi's office. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, but her eyes were alert and determined. In her hand, she carried the data drive that contained humanity's future. Before we begin, Admiral Choi said, do you know what happened to Captain Lee Tae-ho? He was heading for New Seoul Colony with a copy of this information, Park Ji-woo replied. I don't know if he made it. Admiral Choi nodded to Yoon Hai-rin, who immediately began trying to contact New Seoul Colony. Then he turned back to Park Ji-woo. Show us what you found. Park Ji-woo connected the data drive to the room's main computer. The alien meeting appeared on the large wall screen. Admiral Choi and Yoon Hai-rin watched in shocked silence as the 12 alien species discussed their plans to destroy human civilization. When the recording ended, the room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Admiral Choi spoke. How long do we have? According to their timeline, they plan to begin the final attack in 2 years, Park Ji-woo said, but they've already been sabotaging us for years. The broken equipment, the diseases, the bad trade deals, it's all been part of their plan. Yoon Hai-rin looked up from her computer. Admiral, I just received a message from New Seoul Colony. Captain Lee Tae-ho arrived there safely. He's sharing his copy of the recording with the colonial government. Admiral Choi felt a small sense of relief. At least both recordings had made it to safety. But now came the hard part, figuring out what to do about it. We need to contact President An Ji-hyun immediately, he said, and we need to verify this information by checking our own records. Over the next week, teams of investigators looked into everything the alien recording had revealed. What they found was disturbing but also surprising. The broken equipment that Nam Ki-ho had discovered was just the beginning. When human engineers examined alien-made parts across all colonies, they found evidence of deliberate sabotage in over 60% of them. But when humans fixed or modified these parts, they often worked better than the aliens had intended. Dr. Seo Min-ah's research into the mysterious diseases revealed that humans had been exposed to at least 7 different biological weapons over the past 5 years. But in every case, the human immune system had adapted and become stronger. The aliens' attempts to weaken humanity had backfired. Yoon Hai-rin made an even more interesting discovery. By studying human trade records, she found that the aliens had been stealing human innovations for decades. Every time humans invented something new, similar technology would appear in alien markets within months. The aliens claimed to have invented these things themselves, but the evidence showed they were copying human designs. They've been using us, Yoon Hai-rin explained to Admiral Choi. They let us think we were the junior partners in galactic trade, but really they've been dependent on human creativity to improve their own technology. This revelation changed everything. The aliens weren't attacking humans because humans were weak. They were attacking because humans were becoming too strong, too creative, too independent. Admiral Choi called an emergency meeting with President An Ji-hyun and the heads of all human colonies. The meeting was held in secret, using secure communication, channels that the aliens couldn't intercept. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Choi began, we face the greatest threat in human history, but we also have advantages that our enemies don't know about. He explained everything: the secret alien conspiracy, the years of sabotage, and the surprising strength humans had developed as a result. When he finished, the room was filled with angry but determined voices. What do you recommend, Admiral? President On asked. We can't win a direct war against 12 alien species, Admiral Choi replied. But we don't have to. 6 months after the emergency meeting, everything looked normal on the surface. Human colonies continued their daily business. Trade ships still traveled between human and alien worlds. Diplomats from both sides exchanged polite messages about peaceful cooperation. But underneath this normal appearance, humanity was preparing for war. General Kang Bo-ram stood in a hidden command center built deep under the surface of Mars. She was 53 years old and had spent her entire career learning how to fight impossible battles. The room around her was filled with computer screens showing the positions of human ships, weapons factories, and secret bases across the galaxy. Report, she said to her aide, Major Lim So-ra. All 23 hidden bases are operational. Lim So-ra replied. We have weapons production facilities on 15 worlds that the aliens don't know about. Our spy network has agents in place at major alien trade centers. General Kang nodded. The plan was working. While the aliens thought humans were still unprepared, humanity was building a secret military force. The key to their strategy was hiding in plain sight. Human colonies continued to buy equipment and supplies from alien traders. But now human engineers were secretly modifying everything. Nam Kiho had trained thousands of technicians across human space to improve alien technology. At New Sol Colony, Nam Kiho watched as workers assembled a new type of spacecraft. It looked like a normal human transport ship on the outside, but inside it had weapons and engines more powerful than anything the aliens expected. The aliens designed their parts to break easily, he explained to his team. But when we fix them, we make them stronger than the originals. Our ships are now faster and tougher than alien warships. The modified equipment had another advantage. Because it was based on alien designs, alien sensors couldn't tell the difference between normal human ships and the new combat versions. This meant humans could move weapons and soldiers around the galaxy without the aliens noticing. But the most important part of the secret war wasn't weapons or ships. It was information. Yoon Hai-rin had built a network of spies and listening posts across alien space. Some were humans pretending to be traders or tourists. Others were actually aliens, who had become suspicious of their own governments. The 12-species alliance is already having problems, she reported to General Kang during a secret communication. The Veltan Empire and the Crystalline Hierarchy are arguing about who gets to control former human territory after the war. This was exactly what the humans had hoped for. The alien alliance was based on greed, not friendship. Each species wanted to take the best human colonies for themselves. Lim So-ra had become an expert at making these divisions worse. She was a diplomat, but instead of trying to make peace, her job was to plant suspicion and distrust among the alien species. I leaked information to the Bio Collective, suggesting that the Veltans plan to claim their territory after the human war, she told General Kang. I also made sure the Crystalline Hierarchy found evidence that the Bio Collective has been secretly studying how to use their crystal technology. These psychological tactics were working better than anyone expected. The alien species had been cooperating for hundreds of years, but they had never really trusted each other. Now that trust was breaking down. Meanwhile, human combat forces were learning to fight in new ways. Traditional military tactics wouldn't work against enemies with superior numbers and technology. But humans had advantages the aliens didn't understand. Captain John Woo-jin commanded a squadron of the new modified fighter ships. He was 31 years old and had been flying since he was 18. What made him special wasn't just his skill, it was how he thought during combat. Alien pilots follow patterns, he explained to his squadron. Their computer systems tell them the mathematically perfect way to fly and fight. But mathematics can't account for everything. During training exercises, John Woo-jin's pilots practiced techniques that alien computers would consider stupid or impossible. They made sudden turns that should have been too dangerous. They attacked from angles that should have left them exposed. They used their emotions, fear, anger, excitement, to make split-second decisions. The aliens think emotions make us weak, John Woo Jin told his pilots. But emotions help us react faster than any computer. When we're scared, we think of escape routes no computer would calculate. When we're angry, we take risks that surprise our enemies. These training exercises proved that human pilots could outfly alien ships, even with inferior technology. The key was unpredictability. On the scientific front, Dr. Seo Min-ah was making discoveries that would change everything. Her research into the alien biological weapons had revealed something incredible about human evolution. The diseases they used against us didn't just make our immune system stronger, she told General Kang during a secure video call. They accidentally triggered changes in human DNA. The children born after exposure to these diseases are smarter, faster, and more adaptable than previous generations. This meant that the aliens' own weapons had made humanity more dangerous, not less. But Dr. Seo Min-ah had an even more important discovery. I've been studying samples of alien biology from our trade partners, she continued. Most alien species stopped evolving millions of years ago. Their bodies and minds have been the same for so long that they can't adapt to new situations quickly. What does that mean for us? General Kang asked. It means humans can change and improve in ways aliens can't. Every challenge makes us stronger. Every problem teaches us something new. We're still evolving and they're not. This evolutionary advantage was showing up everywhere. Human engineers were solving problems that had stumped alien scientists for centuries. Human artists were creating music and art that aliens found fascinating but couldn't understand. Even human children were learning alien languages faster than alien children learned human languages. But the most dramatic example of human adaptability was happening in space combat. The first real test came when alien patrol ships discovered one of the hidden human weapon factories. 3 Veltan warships approached the facility, expecting to find a small defenseless operation. Instead, they found John Woo Jin and his fighter squadron waiting for them. Remember, he told his pilots over the communication system, they expect us to run or surrender. They don't expect us to attack. The alien ships were larger and more heavily armed than the human fighters. In a normal battle, the aliens should have won easily. But this wasn't a normal battle. John Woo Jin's fighters attacked from 6 different directions at once, moving in patterns that made no logical sense. They used the asteroid field around the weapons factory to hide and ambush the alien ships. Most importantly, they didn't try to destroy the alien vessels, they tried to disable them. Target their communication systems first, John Woo Jin ordered. Then their engines. We want them alive but helpless. The human fighters moved like a school of fish, changing direction together in ways that confused the alien targeting computers. When one fighter was in danger, others would appear from unexpected angles to help. Within 30 minutes, all 3 alien warships were floating helplessly in space. Their weapons were disabled, their engines were dead, and their communication systems were jammed. But their crews were alive and unhurt. Why didn't you kill us? The Veltan commander asked when John Woo Jin's ship docked with his disabled vessel. Because dead enemies can't tell their friends how badly they lost, John Woo Jin replied with a smile. This was part of the psychological warfare strategy. The human forces wanted the aliens to know they were being beaten, but they also wanted them to know that humans could choose mercy over slaughter. This would create fear and confusion in the alien alliance. The disabled alien ships were eventually found by rescue vessels, but not before human technicians had installed hidden listening devices throughout their systems. Now the humans could monitor alien military communications directly. Similar victories were happening across human space. Small groups of human fighters were defeating much larger alien forces using tactics that seemed impossible. Each victory made the aliens more nervous and less confident. But the humans weren't just winning battles. They were also winning allies. Lim Sora had made contact with several smaller alien species that weren't part of the 12-member alliance. These species had been worried about the growing cooperation between the major galactic powers. The big species want to divide the galaxy among themselves, she explained to a gathering of representatives from 6 minor alien civilizations. They're using the excuse of dangerous humans to justify taking more territory and resources. To prove her point, she showed them parts of the recorded alien meeting. The smaller species were shocked to learn that the major powers had been planning to eliminate them too, after dealing with the humans. We're all targets, Lim Sorod told them. The 12 major species want to control everything. Humans are just their first target, not their only one. These revelations convinced several smaller alien civilizations to secretly support the humans. They began sharing intelligence about the major powers' military movements and political plans. At the same time, human agents were spreading rumors and false information within the alien alliance itself. They planted evidence that made each species suspicious of the stars looked the same as always through the thick glass windows of Deep Space Station Omega-7. Captain Lee Tae-ho stood in the main control room, watching his team work at their computers. The station was small and far from Earth, floating in empty space like a metal island. Its job was simple: listen to radio signals from alien worlds and try to understand what they meant. Lee Tae-ho had been the station captain for 3 years. He was 42 years old with short black hair and tired eyes. The work was usually boring. Most days they heard nothing but static and strange noises from distant planets. Sometimes they picked up alien music or what sounded like news programs. But today felt different. Park Ji-woo sat at the main listening post wearing large headphones. She was 28 and very smart with computers. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard as she searched through different radio frequencies. Next to her, Kim Dong-soo checked the station's equipment. He was older, 55, and had worked with alien technology for most of his life. "Captain," Park Ji-woo called out. "I'm getting something strange." Lee Tae-ho walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" "It's not like the normal alien signals we hear. This one is using some kind of code, a very advanced code." She pointed at her screen, which showed lines of numbers and symbols moving up and down. "The signal is coming from the Nexus Zone, the D. Nexus Zone was a special area of space where different alien races met to trade goods and talk about politics. Humans were allowed to visit, but only for business. Most of the time, the aliens there were friendly to humans." Kim Dong-soo looked up from his work. "Are you sure it's from the Nexus Zone? That's pretty far away." "I'm sure," Park Ji-woo said. "The signal is very strong, much stronger than it should be for normal communication." Lee Tae-ho thought about this. Strong signals usually meant something important was happening. "Can you break the code?" Park Ji-woo smiled. "I can try, but it might take some time." For the next 6 hours, Park Ji-woo worked on the coded signal. She used the station's most powerful computers to try different ways of understanding the message. Kim Dong-soo helped by adjusting the radio equipment to get a clearer signal. Lee Tae-ho watched and waited. Finally, Park Ji-woo made a breakthrough. "I think I've got it," she said excitedly. "The code is based on quantum encryption. It's very advanced, but our computers are smart enough to figure it out." "What does the message say?" Lee Tae-ho asked. "That's the strange part. It's not a message. It's a live video feed." Park Ji-woo turned her screen so the captain could see. "Someone is broadcasting a meeting." The screen showed a large round room with strange lighting. Around a circular table sat 12 different aliens. Lee Tae-ho recognized some of the species from his training. There were tall, thin aliens with blue skin called Veltans. There were rock-like creatures that glowed with inner light called the crystalline hierarchy. There were others he had never seen before. "Turn up the sound," Lee Tae-ho said quietly. The alien voices came through the speakers. The station's computer automatically translated their words into English. What they heard made all 3 humans stop and listen carefully. "The human expansion must be stopped," said a Veltan with gold markings on his face. "They have colonized 47 worlds in the last 10 years. This is far too fast." A crystalline being that looked like a walking diamond spoke next. "My people agree. Humans learn and build too quickly. They take our ideas and make them better. This threatens our way of life." "What do you suggest?" asked a third alien that looked like a giant insect. We have been working on this problem for 5 years, the Veltan continued. We have been giving them broken ship parts. We have been making their trade deals bad for them. We have even sent diseases to their colonies to slow their population growth. Lee Tae-ho felt his blood turn cold. These aliens had been secretly attacking human colonies. The meeting continued. The aliens talked about their plans like they were discussing the weather. They mentioned specific human colonies by name. They talked about stealing human technology and using it for themselves. Worst of all, they discussed something called the final solution. Within 2 years, we will accuse the humans of attacking neutral worlds, the crystalline being explained. We will say they are dangerous and must be stopped. Then all of our races will join together to fight them. We will destroy their colonies and force the survivors back to their home planet. And if they refuse to stay on Earth? Asked the insect-like alien. Then we will destroy Earth too, the Veltan said simply. Park Ji-woo was recording everything. Her face was white with shock. Kim Dong-soo sat down heavily in his chair, looking sick. The alien meeting went on for another hour. They discussed which human technologies they wanted to steal before the attack. They talked about dividing up human colonies among themselves after the war. They even planned to use human slaves for dangerous work. Lee Tae-ho listened to every word. His hands were shaking with anger, but his mind was working clearly. This information had to get back to Earth. The human government needed to know about this conspiracy. But as he was thinking about how to send a message to Earth, alarms started ringing throughout the station. "Captain!" Kim Dong-soo shouted, looking at his instruments. "Multiple alien ships approaching fast. They're coming from the direction of the Nexus Zone." On the main screen, Lee Tae-ho could see 6 alien warships moving toward their station. They looked like the ships he had seen in the secret meeting. "They detected our signal intercept," Park Ji-woo said, her voice scared but determined. "They know we were listening." Lee Tae-ho's mind raced. The station had some weapons, but not enough to fight 6 warships. They had small transport ships, but the alien vessels were faster. In a few minutes, the aliens would reach the station and probably destroy it to keep their secret safe. "Park Ji-woo, how much of the meeting did you record?" he asked. "All of it. Every word and every image." "Good. Copy that recording to 3 separate data drives. Kim Dong-soo, get our transport ships ready to launch." "Captain, those ships are too small to outrun alien warships," Kim Dong-soo protested. "I know, but we have to try. This information is too important to die with us here." Lee Tae-ho made a quick decision. "Kim Dong-soo, you'll stay here with me. We'll use the station's weapons to slow down those warships. Park Ji-woo, you take 1 data drive and escape in transport ship Alpha. Head straight for Earth and don't stop for anything." "What about the other 2 data drives?" she asked. "I'll take 1 and go in transport ship Beta. I'll try to reach the human military base at New Seoul Colony. The 3rd drive stays here as backup, hidden in the station's emergency beacon." Park Ji-woo nodded. She grabbed the data drives and ran toward the transport bay. Kim Dong-soo began powering up the station's defense systems. Lee Tae-ho looked at the approaching alien ships on his screen. They would be here in 10 minutes. He had maybe 5 minutes before Park Ji-woo's ship would be ready to launch. "Kim Dong-soo," he said, "when I give the signal, fire everything we have at the lead ship. Try to disable it, not destroy it. We want them focused on us, not chasing Park Ji-woo." "Understood, Captain." The next few minutes felt like hours. Lee Tae-ho watched the alien ships get closer and closer. Finally, he heard Park Ji-woo's voice over the communication system. "Transport Alpha ready for launch. Go." Lee Tae-ho shouted. "Get to Earth. Tell them everything." Park Ji-woo's small ship shot out of the station's docking bay and raced toward open space. At the same moment, Kim Dong-soo fired the station's weapons at the approaching alien fleet. The lead alien ship shook as the weapons hit it, but it didn't stop. All 6 ships changed course to attack the station. Lee Tae-ho saw Park Ji-woo's ship disappear into the darkness of space, just as the first alien missiles hit the station. "Time to go," he told Kim Dong-soo. But the older man shook his head. "Someone needs to keep firing the weapons to give you time to escape. Go, Captain. Take that information to New Seoul Colony." Lee Tae-ho wanted to argue, but he knew Kim Dong-soo was right. He grabbed the second data drive and ran to the remaining transport ship. As he started the engines, he could hear Kim Dong-soo still firing the station's weapons at the alien ships. Transport ship Beta launched. Just as the alien warships surrounded the station, Lee Tae-ho saw the station explode in his rear window as he raced away into space. Kim Dong-soo was gone, but his sacrifice had given both transport ships time to escape. Now, it was a race. Lee Tae-ho had to reach New Seoul Colony before the aliens could catch him. Park Ji-woo had to reach Earth before the aliens realized she was carrying the same information. The secret was out. The question was, would humanity have enough time to prepare for what was coming? The Veltan battle fleet appeared at the edge of human space like a dark cloud blocking out the stars. Admiral Choi Sang-min stood on the bridge of the human flagship, watching the enemy ships approach on his main screen. There were over 300 alien vessels, more than the entire human fleet had ever fought at one time. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "the Veltan commander is demanding our immediate surrender. He says resistance is useless." Admiral Choi smiled grimly. "Tell him we need time to consider his generous offer. Request a meeting to discuss terms." This was all part of the plan. The humans didn't actually want to surrender, but they needed time for other pieces of their strategy to fall into place. On Earth, Lim So-ra was working around the clock in the Diplomatic Communication Center. She had become humanity's secret weapon in the war of words and ideas. While the Veltan fleet threatened human colonies, she was busy destroying the alien alliance from within. "Ambassador Crix," she said, speaking to a representative of the Bio Collective through a secure channel. "I hope your people are prepared for what the Veltans are planning." The Bio Collective ambassador looked confused. His species resembled large, intelligent plants with multiple eyes and tentacles. "What do you mean, human?" "Our intelligence sources have intercepted Veltan military communications." Lim So-ra lied smoothly. "After they finish with us, they plan to claim your 3 most valuable bio-research worlds. They say your species is too dangerous to be trusted with advanced biological weapons." This was completely false, but it sounded believable. The Veltans were known for wanting to control dangerous technology, and the Bio Collective's biological weapons were definitely dangerous. "That's impossible," Ambassador Crick said, but Lim So-ra could see uncertainty in his multiple eyes. "We have an agreement." "You had an agreement," she corrected. "But look at what they're doing now. They started attacking humans 6 months early, without consulting the rest of your alliance. They're not following the plan anymore because they don't want to share the rewards." While Lim So-ra planted seeds of suspicion, other human agents were spreading similar lies throughout the alien alliance. They told the crystalline hierarchy that the Veltans wanted to steal their crystal-growing technology. They warned the insectoid, hive mind species that other alliance members planned to enslave their worker drones. Each lie was carefully designed to match what each species feared most about their supposed allies. The strategy was working. Within days of the Veltan fleet's arrival in human space, cracks began to appear in the alien alliance. Park Hyun-woo, working as a trade representative on the neutral station Deep-port, reported the first signs of success. The Bio Collective. Ambassador just canceled a scheduled meeting with the Veltan trade minister, he told Lim So-ra through an encrypted communication. "And I overheard 2 crystalline hierarchy officials arguing about whether they should send their fleet to support the Veltans or keep it home to defend their own territory." Meanwhile, Kim Yoo-jin was using her expertise in alien cultures to identify the specific fears and rivalries that could be exploited. She had spent years studying how different alien species thought and behaved. "The key is understanding their psychology," she explained to the human intelligence team. "Humans form alliances based on shared goals or values, but most alien species form alliances based on fear or greed. When the fear changes or the greed gets too tempting, the alliance breaks." Back in space, Admiral Choi was playing his own part in the psychological war. Instead of immediately fighting the Veltan fleet, he was drawing them into a long series of negotiations and diplomatic meetings. "We're not actually trying to make a deal," he explained to his senior officers. We're buying time and making the Veltans look weak to their allies. Every day they spend talking instead of fighting makes the other alien species wonder if the Veltans are losing their nerve. The delaying tactics were also allowing human forces to move into better positions. Captain Lee Tae-ho, who had survived his escape from Station Omega-7, now commanded a group of stealth ships hiding in the asteroid fields near the main battle zone. The Veltans have concentrated their entire fleet in one location, he reported to Admiral Choi. They're powerful, but they're also vulnerable. If something goes wrong, they don't have reserves to fall back on. This was exactly the kind of overconfident mistake the humans had hoped their enemies would make. The Veltans were so sure of victory that they had committed all their forces to one decisive battle. But the humans weren't planning to meet them in that decisive battle. Instead, they were planning something much more clever. On New Sol Colony, Nam Kiho was putting the finishing touches on a new type of weapon system. It looked like a normal communications relay, the kind used to send messages between star systems. But hidden inside was something that would change everything. It's not actually a weapon, he explained to General Kang during a secure video call. It's more like a computer virus, but one that affects hardware instead of software. How does it work? General Kang asked. Every piece of technology the aliens have sold us over the past 50 years contains components made from the same basic materials, Nam Kiho continued. We figured out how to make those materials unstable using a specific frequency of electromagnetic radiation. In simple terms, the humans had found a way to make alien technology self-destruct by sending the right kind of radio signal. The best part is it only affects the pure alien technology, Nam Kiho added. Our modified equipment uses different materials so it won't be damaged. This discovery meant that the humans could disable entire enemy fleets without firing a single weapon, but they needed to get close enough to the alien ships to use the electromagnetic frequency weapon. That's where Captain John Woo Jin and his fighter pilots came in. We'll disguise the frequency generators as communication equipment, he told his squadron. The aliens will think we're trying to broadcast a surrender message to all human colonies at once. They'll let us get close because they want everyone to hear humans giving up. It was a risky plan, but it was humanity's best chance of winning against impossible odds. While the military preparations continued, the diplomatic war was reaching a critical point. Lim So-ra's campaign of lies and suspicions had finally pushed the alien alliance to the breaking point. The first crack appeared when the Bio Collective recalled half of their fleet to defend their home worlds against a possible Veltan attack that existed only in their imagination. The second crack opened when the crystalline hierarchy demanded that the Veltans share captured human technology immediately, instead of waiting until after the war. They had become convinced that the Veltans planned to keep the best discoveries for themselves. The third and most devastating crack came when the insectoid hive mind species discovered what they thought was evidence of a plot to destroy their queen. In reality, it was a fake document created by human intelligence agents, but the hive mind believed it was real. Within a week of these suspicions taking hold, the 12-species alliance had effectively collapsed. Only 4 species still supported the Veltan attack on humanity. The others had either withdrawn their forces or were actively preparing to defend themselves against their former allies. But the Veltans, committed to their massive fleet and desperate to justify their early attack, decided to proceed alone. They can't back down now, Yoon Hyrene explained to Admiral Choi. If they retreat without fighting, they'll look weak to every species in the galaxy. Their reputation as a major power will be destroyed. This desperation made the Veltans more dangerous but also more predictable. They had to attack, even though they no longer had the overwhelming advantage they had counted on. The final battle began when the Veltan commander, Admiral Zekvar, lost patience with the extended negotiations. Enough talking, his message said. Surrender now, or we will destroy every human ship and colony in this sector. Admiral Choi's response was simple. Come and try. The Veltan fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their ships gleaming in the light of the nearby star. They expected to face desperate human defenders fighting hopeless battles with inferior technology. Instead, They faced something no alien species had ever encountered. A human strategy that used the aliens' own assumptions against them. As the Velton ships approached the main human defensive line, Captain John Woo Jin's fighters appeared from behind a nearby moon. They were broadcasting on all frequencies, apparently trying to send a surrender message to every human colony in the sector. "Perfect," Admiral Zekvar said to his officers. "Let them tell their people how completely they have been defeated." The Velton ships moved closer to get a better view of the human surrender. They wanted to record the message for propaganda purposes. But instead of a surrender message, John Woo Jin's fighters were broadcasting Nam Kiho's electromagnetic frequency weapon. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the Velton fleet, ships began losing power as their alien-made components started to malfunction. Engines shut down, weapon systems failed, and life support began to flicker. "What's happening?" Admiral Zekvar demanded as his own flagship's systems began to fail. His science officer, checking the readings desperately, gave him the impossible answer. 2 months after the defeat of the Velton fleet, President An Ji-hyun stood before representatives from 47 different alien species in the Grand Assembly Hall of New Geneva Station. The massive space station had been built in just 8 weeks, a testament to the new spirit of cooperation sweeping across the galaxy. The hall itself was unlike anything ever seen before. Instead of the circular design that put one species at the center, the humans had created a spiral pattern where every species had equal access to the speaking platform. Alien and human engineers had worked together to accommodate the wildly different environmental needs of dozens of species in one space. "Today marks the beginning of a new age," President An said, her words being translated simultaneously into 46 different alien languages. Not the age of human dominance, but the age of galactic cooperation. In the audience, former enemies sat next to new allies. The Bio-Collective ambassador, now openly supporting human policies, sat near representatives of 3 species that had once been part of the conspiracy against humanity. Even some Veltons were present, though their delegation was small and nervous. Admiral Choi Sung-min watched from the military observers section, still amazed at how completely the situation had reversed itself. 6 months ago, humanity had been facing extinction. Now they were leading the largest peaceful alliance in galactic history. The transformation hadn't happened overnight, and it hadn't been without problems. After the defeat of the Velton fleet, the remaining members of the original alien conspiracy had tried different approaches. Some, like the Bio-Collective, had genuinely switched sides. Others had attempted to negotiate separate peace deals with humanity. A few had tried to continue the war using different tactics. The crystalline hierarchy had been the most stubborn, unable to accept that their ancient civilization could be outmaneuvered by a species they considered primitive. They had attempted a surprise attack on the human colony of New Kyoto. It had been a disaster for them and a revelation for everyone else. Captain John Woo Jin, now promoted to colonel, had been defending New Kyoto with a mixed squadron of human and alien pilots. The sight of humans and aliens fighting side by side had shocked the crystalline attackers more than any weapon. "They expected us to fight alone," Colonel Jian reported to General Kang after the battle. "They couldn't adapt their tactics when they saw Bio-Collective ships and reformed Veltan fighters supporting our defense. The Battle of New Kyoto had lasted only 3 hours, but its effects had been permanent. Seeing their former allies fighting alongside humans had convinced the last holdout species that the old system of secret conspiracies and divided loyalties was truly dead. But military victories alone hadn't created the new galactic order. The real transformation had come through countless small acts of cooperation and trust building. Dr. Seo Minna had become the director of the new Galactic Health Alliance, working with alien scientists to solve medical problems that affected multiple species. Her research into human immune system adaptation had led to treatments that helped alien species fight diseases that had plagued them for centuries. The biological weapons they used against us taught us things about immunity that no one had ever discovered, she explained to a gathering of alien medical researchers. "When we share this knowledge freely, everyone benefits." This open sharing of scientific discoveries had become one of the cornerstones of the new alliance. Instead of hoarding knowledge or selling it for profit, member species contributed their expertise to common research projects. Nam Kiho had established the Galactic Engineering Cooperative, where human and alien technicians worked together to improve technology for everyone. The hybrid designs that combined human adaptability with alien precision were revolutionizing everything from spacecraft to communication systems. The aliens taught us that advanced technology doesn't have to be fragile. Nam Kiho told a mixed group of students at the new Galactic Technical Institute. And we taught them that reliability doesn't have to mean inflexibility. But perhaps the most important changes were happening in the realm of diplomacy and politics. Lim Sora had traded her career in psychological warfare for something more constructive. She was now the first director of interspecies communication. Her job was to help different alien cultures understand each other and work together effectively. During the war, I learned how to find the differences that divided species, she explained to President An during a private meeting. Now, I'm learning how to find the similarities that can unite them. Her work was crucial because the new alliance faced challenges that pure military victory couldn't solve. Dozens of different species, each with their own history, culture, and way of thinking, had to learn how to make decisions together. The humans had proposed a radical solution. Instead of rule by the strongest or oldest civilizations, the new Galactic Council would make decisions based on consensus and mutual benefit. Every species, no matter how small or young, would have a voice in galactic affairs. Many of the older alien civilizations had been skeptical of this approach. Chaos, the crystalline hierarchy ambassador had predicted. 47 different voices will never agree on anything important. But the human system had something the aliens hadn't expected. Built-in mechanisms for compromise and adaptation. Park Hyun-woo, now serving as the Council's first Secretary General, had developed procedures that encouraged cooperation instead of competition. When species disagreed on policy, they were required to work together to find solutions that addressed everyone's concerns. Instead of voting winners and losers, he explained to skeptical alien representatives, we keep talking until we find answers that work for everyone. This approach took longer than simple majority rule, but it produced results that all species could support. More importantly, it built trust and understanding between former enemies. The transformation wasn't just happening at the government level. Throughout the galaxy, individual aliens and humans were forming friendships and partnerships that would have been impossible under the old system. Captain Lee Tae-ho, now serving as humanity's first ambassador to the reformed Veltan Empire, had developed an unlikely friendship with Admiral Zekvar, the same Veltan commander who had tried to destroy humanity. We were both soldiers following orders, Admiral Zekvar had told him during one of their regular diplomatic meetings. But now, we have the chance to build something better than either of our species could create alone. These personal relationships were creating a web of trust and cooperation that made the new alliance stronger than any military pact. Kim Yoo-jin had established the Galactic Cultural Exchange Program, which allowed young aliens and humans to live and study on each other's worlds. The program had a waiting list of over 10,000 applicants from 30 different species. When you understand how another species thinks and feels, she told a group of human students preparing for exchange programs, it becomes impossible to see them as enemies. But the most dramatic example of how completely the tables had turned came when the new Galactic Council faced its first major crisis. A previously unknown alien species, the Devourers, had appeared at the edge of the galaxy. Unlike the conspiracy species who had been motivated by fear and greed, the Devourers were genuinely hostile. They consumed entire planets to fuel their expansion and showed no interest in communication or negotiation. Under the old system, each species would have tried to protect itself while hoping the Devourers would attack their rivals first. The result would have been the destruction of multiple civilizations, as the Devourers picked them off one by one. Under the new system, the response was immediate and unified. Every species in the Council will contribute ships, resources, and personnel to the defense effort, President An announced at an emergency session. We stand together or we fall separately. Admiral Choi found himself commanding a fleet unlike anything in galactic history. Human ships flying alongside former enemies using technology that combined the best innovations of dozens of species. The war against the Devourers lasted 6 months and required sacrifices from every member of the Alliance. But when it was over, the galaxy was safe, and the bonds between former enemies had become unbreakable. Yoon Hai-rin, now serving as the Council's intelligence coordinator, had played a crucial role in understanding Devourer tactics and finding their weaknesses. "The old conspiracy species fought us because they were afraid of change," she observed after the victory. "The Devourers fought us because they couldn't change. In both cases, our ability to adapt and work together was what saved us." As president, An looked out at the assembled representatives in the Grand Assembly Hall. She reflected on how completely the situation had transformed. A year ago, humanity had been preparing for extinction. Now they were leading a galactic civilization based on principles that most aliens had never even imagined. But she also knew that this was just the beginning. "We have proven that cooperation is stronger than conspiracy," she told the assembly. "We have shown that trust builds more security than fear. We have discovered that diversity creates more innovation than conformity. But we have also learned that these achievements require constant effort.